please.
Not a problem.
All right, greetings, fellow Earthlings, and welcome to the Great Debate Community Channel, a channel brought to you by Steve McRae. And I always want to start every stream by thanking Steve for allowing me to do this. And surprise, surprise, we do have Steve McRae with us tonight. And he is going to be our feature channel. We'll start by talking to him for a few minutes. And then we're going to, talk about whatever is on anybody's mind. We're going to start with a topic I came up with, and I'll clue you in on that in a few minutes. But first, let's welcome Steve McRae to his own channel.
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? Hi.
So, Steve, and as I, said recently, I don't want to blow too much smoke up your ass, but nobody would even know who the fuck I am if it wasn't for you. And just want to thank you for that. I started out as just a fan of Non Sequitur, and you willingly embraced me once we started talking, and then you came up with the idea of allowing me and Nick to do streams on the GDC, and I do appreciate that from you. And as you know, I just started a new channel here a week or so ago, and I attribute my association with you to being able to do that. Now, usually I start when I do these interviews, feature channel interviews. I usually start by asking the person where they came up with the name for their channel, but when it comes to you, that's fairly obvious.
No, well, actually, not really. Actually. Well, let me dive in real quick to try to answer that. First, though, thank you, John. I really do appreciate you running these things. I think that you've done a wonderful job. I think that you've actually exemplified how to actually moderate discussions. So that's amazing. A lot of people don't have the knack to do it. You just seem to be a natural at it. You've only gotten better. So I appreciate you coming on to one of my channels to do it, which allows you to actually get some of your own, I think, projects going out there, which was the original intent of this channel to begin with. This channel was predicated on the idea that other people would manage it, and then they would promote things that they have going on in their channel. It'd be like a community channel. That's the Great Debate Community. It didn't really take off that way because of internal issues with the Great Debate Community, but the name itself, the Great Debate Community, I believe started with the person named Agent of Doubt ages ago. And they just threw it out there one time. And there was a small group of people that kind of associated themselves with the Great Debate, that they kind of consider themselves a community. And back then, years and years and years ago, I saw this idea of making something out of it, making it into a brand, making it into a collection of people that want to have dialogues, because I noticed on the internet, people were talking about things, but they weren't talking to each other about things. And so I wanted to have discussions with people. I wanted to talk to theists. I wanted to talk to creationists. I wanted to talk to the gamut. I didn't know much about flat Earth back then, but that eventually, talked to flat earthers. And so this channel was predicated on that idea that a rising tide lifts all boats. And so the people that have been on this channel and the people that have stuck with the Great Debate Community have become rather well known. Some of them even more so than me. And by the way, I wouldn't be known if I didn't exist either. So I owe my own, I guess, infamous, I don't know how to put it, to my own existence, but some people do, they think that I don't exist for some reason. So there's some controversy there on my own existence, which gives me existential angst, but we could talk about that another time.
Sure. And of course, well, and of course, maybe people are confused when I referred to it's obviously apparent where you came up with the name for your channel. I was referring to your Steve McRae channel.
Okay. My parents did that, and I didn't want to call my parents liars about my name, so I just kind of figured that was actually it. But however, I am getting my birth certificate, so I can actually check to make sure now.
So you're not. Well, so you're not a secret Muslim, and you weren't born in
Kenya,
sub-Saharan in Kenya. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I actually literally just got my thing notarized on Tuesday, to send away for a copy of an authorized birth certificate, so I can get a passport and social.
So there's a
related lizard person.
Yeah, hold on, Dave.
I can't hear anything Dave says.
So now, when it comes to your Steve McRae channel, of course, you've got 3.5 times the subs that the GDC channel has. And as a matter of fact, tonight you're going to have another one of your rum and coke nights here in about an hour and a half or so. And tell me a little bit about the beginnings of the Steve McRae channel and how that started out.
That started in 2013 March. I just basically, like any other person, started a YouTube channel. It wasn't really till my first video was a few years later, in 2014, I think, give or take, where I was discussing stuff about creationism. And then I was lucky enough to be in a hangout that Ken Hovind was in, and I was able to confront him on some of his claims. That led to me having more dialogue with creationists and having debates like the ones with King Crocoduck and Ken Hovind that I facilitated, arranged, and moderated on my channel. Then obviously the flat earth stuff started coming in. I still have a very popular video with a bunch of flat earthers and a bunch of flat earthers coming together to have a discussion with Nathan Thompson, Jeranism, who was it? Oakley, Sleeping Warrior. I mean, just the whole gamut of Flat Earth clan. But yeah, I mean, that channel was predicated on just promoting of good science. Then I started eventually turning it more into philosophy as I grew more in philosophy, because I was very, very naive in philosophy 6 or 7 years ago, to the point of being inept. And I didn't want to be inept in philosophy any longer, because I got my ass handed to me when it came to philosophical topics, and I didn't like that.
Well, and I just recently made the mistake of heading over to Tom Unbox's Discord, and I had my ass handed to me too.
I heard about that.
Yeah, those guys are tough over there.
Yeah, they're not for the faint of heart. I should have warned you about that. Now, I had people telling me, hey, you might want to come help your buddy John out. And I'm like, first of all, John is a big boy. I'm not going to white knight him. But I'm not interested in really going to their Discord. I've done it once or twice, and every time it's not my cup of tea. I don't plan to really go back there. Some of the people I get along with, some people I don't. I have no problem with Tom himself, but they're all opportunists, and basically they will eat you if it's convenient to do so, just for entertainment value. And that's not how I have a dialectic.
Well, and the thing is too, when I went over there, I saw a link for a new Discord underneath the video, and I was like, oh, cool, new Discord. Clicked on it. Next thing I know, I'm in a live voice room. They just pulled me into it.
Yeah, it's entertainment value, and I don't really buy into that. Now, there are some people that I still like to keep in touch with from that group. Jack Angstrike. I still talk to Josh, which is Realistic Nihilist. Godless Girls can communicate with me. Why do I just keep going to Mikey? I keep talking, and all of a sudden I see Mikey. This is weird.
Well, I think he's got his mic open. Maybe it's picking up some
I don't
background
care.
noise.
Yeah, well, I'm having conversation with Mikey, like one of our private moments that we used to have.
Well, I mean, he's a handsome man, so seeing him shouldn't be that.
I don't understand why he doesn't have chicks left and right, man. Look at that.
Yeah.
So I haven't got a cute dog, because I don't want to ever hear him say, "Oh, I have women problems." Screw you.
Yeah. So, as I said a few minutes ago, you're going to have another one of your rum and coke nights tonight. Where did those start? I mean, how did you come up with those?
The rum and coke night was basically to mess with flat earthers. We were going over to flat earthers videos, going live chat and seeing if any of them wanted to come over to have a discussion. And Mike, I'm going to mute you because your mic is wide open. There you go. And it became a popular idea because, of course, very few would come over, and the ones that would come over got basically just annihilated. But we were basically kind of trolling the flat earthers in a good way, because there's different types of way of trolling. I would never do anything maliciously, but we were trying to get a flat earther to come over to have a conversation. And of course, they're dishonest as can be. They'll mute you, they'll hide you. I made like 10 accounts, 12 accounts, just because flat earthers were deleting all the accounts. So I have all these flat earth, like why are you scared of Steve McRae? And all my other alts have like the name Steve McRae in it for the most part. And it just turned into you know what? Let's just have a night to drink and have fun. And they've been popular ever since.
Well, and as a matter of fact, your rum and coke nights is where I cut my teeth on the hangout scene. A lot of people have actually first jumped in on the scene because of a rum and coke night and became actually pretty well-known people in the community. So it's a gateway drug, I guess. Gateway. Yeah. Rum and coke nights are a gateway drug. That's awesome. There you go. So let's just say if you're out there in the audience and you don't know who Steve McRae is yet, which I
would
can't
they be watching
imagine.
this channel then?
Yeah. How would you be watching this channel? But, you know, if you haven't subbed to Steve or subbed to the Great Debate Community channel, please do so. And please share both those channels on social media. There's certainly a lot of people out there that haven't heard about it. And I know Steve would appreciate it, and I would appreciate it as well. All of Steve's information will be put in the pinned link once this post is a video, like we do every week, along with everybody else's information. And so thanks for being here tonight, Steve. And you're going to stick around and take part in the discussion here.
Yeah, I just want to put a quick shout out to somebody if I can.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Dapper Dino is going to be having a 100 sub party on the 30th. And we're going to raise the roof. It's at 6 p.m. time. I've already put the link in my video description for the rum and coke. I put in the video description for this video as well. So go set your reminder. So do this, go sub, go hit that bell, and then hit that set reminder notification, because I got to tell you, YouTube sucks at reminding people. It really does. I don't know what it is. I don't know why their things are broke dick, but for some reason, YouTube has a hell of a problem trying to notify people correctly.
Well, and as a matter of fact, that kind of brain cramped me earlier, because I went to the, YouTube page for this stream tonight, and then I opened up the video description because I wanted to make sure I had, everybody on my list that I had listed for tonight. And all of a sudden I saw that link in the middle of the video description. I'm like, what's that? And I had to click on that, go check it out. I saw a couple of videos there where Biblical History Skeptics, Chris was in, and
yeah, he's a great guy. He's an ex-nuke like myself. So he was a nuclear propulsion quote engineer in the Navy, like I was. He was an electrician, mate, but the schooling is pretty damn similar for the most part. Everybody's cross-trained in the nuke. It's ridiculous. And he was nice enough to buy me a few games on Steam, and I've been telling you, I've actually been taking time to play some games. I'm really stuck in playing Divinity 2, man. That game is amazing but hard. Every battle is like an hour because I keep on dying and have to save and go back and try different tactics. It's not an easy game.
Are you afraid in the third act yet?
I'm afraid to.
Are you in the third act yet?
No, I'm still near the end of Act 2, but it's a difficult game. You really got to master your strategy.
Yep, it's like.
I mean, I'm afraid to get back into the games again, because when I was gaming before, it just sucked up so much of my life.
Well, yeah, I spent like 10 years playing WoW. I can't even. My mage. It's still one of the top PvP mages on the server of Silvermoon. Her name was Lilo. She had the second most number of kills, all-time kills. She had, I mean, it was ridiculous how many people she annihilated.
Humble brag.
I'm not humble bragging. I'm bragging. I had one game that I got good at. One motherfucking game on PvP that I was good at, and that was being a mage. I was one of the best, man. I had a 40-man team that we pick and choose from. Matter of fact, one of my people that actually was in my guild and in my group, she actually is on my Facebook group, and she was like, "Let's get back into it. Let's play again in Classic WoW." I'm like, "No."
Hey, Mike, did you? Oh, okay. Am I muted or something?
No, but Dave likes to talk over people.
Yeah. So, Mike, did you just a minute ago refer to Steve and humbleness in the same sentence?
By the way, I have to have the record here. Kawasa, I started as a fire mage mofo, not no scummy frost mage. I was back in the day where fire mage were not even viable in PvP, and I had the top amount of kills. That's how good I was, because I picked fire over frost, and they're like, "Oh, Steve, you're an idiot. You suck at PvP. Pick fire." I wrecked people.
And all of that, what you just said, was like another language
either.
To me. I have no idea. I have no idea what you just said.
I'm putting him in his place because he thinks I was a palm pyro. Oh, no, man. I was a daughter, man. I would dot and kite the shit out of you and just let you burn to a crisp, baby.
I'm sorry. We have something from the chat real quick.
Sure.
Nicole wanted me to tell you that I love you. No, that she
loves Steve.
Yeah,
sorry. I love Nicole too. I will be seeing Nicole hopefully very soon.
All right, guys, let's get into this now. Let's start by we have already met Steve. Let's go right on down the line there. Hello, Dave McInnis. How are you tonight?
Doing all right. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. And Puffalupagus, what's up with you tonight, bud?
Same thing as always, trying to fucking be a full-time college student, work and hang out with my friends online at the same fucking time.
All right.
Damn right, buddy.
We're glad you're here.
And you know, and bash the fast while I'm at it.
Yep. And Mikey Famine.
Yeah, there we go. Nailed it. What's up? How is everyone?
I'm glad to have you here tonight, man. The discussion we're going to start with is going to be something that was inspired by a conversation we had earlier in the week, or about a week ago. And let's see, who do we have next? Reid, how you doing tonight, Reid?
Good. How are you guys all doing?
All right, and here's something I got to let everybody know. Reid is a virgin to the Hangouts, so be gentle, folks.
I was wondering who MJ was. I knew Reid would be joining us, but I didn't know that was Reid. Hey, Reid, buddy. We're popping your cherry. We're popping your cherry.
I know. And I can't get this freaking video to work. I don't know what the hell's going on, so.
Well, it doesn't really matter that much because, as a matter of fact, the Hangouts are going to be done in a few days. And as a matter of fact, this will be the last Google Hangout that I do on the GDC, and hopefully it'll be Zoom next time. And I also want to.
They're giving us Google Meets, by the way, you know.
Oh, Google Meets, yeah, you did that once on your channel one night, and I got to see a little bit of that. I'm thinking maybe the Zoom, though. And I also want to point out too, I won't be doing this next Saturday, the 4th of July, just Saturday after 4th of July. So unless Nick or Steve does something that night on this channel,
I'm sure we'll arrange something. I'm gonna get my drink real quick. So real quick.
All right, and Nick Soutter is here with us tonight. How you doing tonight, Nick?
Doing very well, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing very good. And progressive liberal.
Fuck Nazis. How are you?
Hey, so did you do that?
Why are you
Star
fucking
Trek
Nazis?
Did you do the Star Trek video yet? You were talking about.
No, I had some technical issues. Hopefully Monday.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I was looking for that, and I thought you had said it would have been out by now. But
yeah, I've recorded it 3 times. All 3 are fucked up, so I got to record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okie doke then. All right. Tonight's potluck profundity. We're going to talk about whatever is on anybody's mind, and after we're done here, please head over to Steve's Rum and Coke night. We're going to start with a topic that I came up with thanks to Puffalupagus and Mikey and a few other folks that we had a private hangout with maybe a week or so ago. And the topic is, can any race be racist? And does racism require the element of power imbalance? And I want to hear what everybody has to say about that. I'm not going to say too much except to say that I believe that any race can be racist, and that, of course, there is the definition of racism that is used in certain contexts where it does talk about power imbalance. But my thoughts are that the only way that a power imbalance can come about is, racism of a large segment of the population puts people into office that are racist. So my stance is racism sucks, and that anybody can be a racist. And that to be a racist, it does not require a power imbalance. And so I'm gonna let Mike open the topic up. Since I think he disagrees maybe with some of what I just said.
What? Me disagree with you? I've never disagreed.
Can't disagree, or you're racist, damn it.
I totally believe that.
Wait. Since John is the mod, he's got all the power, so we can all disagree
John's
with him on any ground.
It's already starting. It's already starting. See how we already set it up to win? I'm just kidding.
Sorry against you.
The deck.
Remember, John is God in here, so you lose.
Well, Jesus is white too, from what I understand. So I think I think when we had our conversation last time in the after show, I think we were kind of talking past each other, because racist in the way that you're meaning, John, and I don't want it to be like a I hate John thing. I don't hate John, I love John. It's more or less we talked past each other, and the way that you're using racist isn't the way that I'm talking about racism. Because someone being shitty to someone because of the color of their skin, someone could say, yeah, that's racist. But I don't think that's the larger racism that I'm talking about. Does that make sense?
It does, but even on an individual basis, I wouldn't say that it's as simple as being shitty to someone because of, their race. I mean, there's more to it than that.
Would you agree that there needs to be some level of oppression?
Well, I would say that races that are discriminated against are often oppressed, but I would say that as far as on an individual basis, like, for instance, if I was racist against a certain ethnicity, I wouldn't necessarily be in the position to oppress them, but my racism of them would allow oppression to happen because I'm giving cover to the people in power that could oppress them.
But I think you just agreed with me on accident.
How so?
Because even if you don't have the power to do it, but by tacitly allowing certain power structures to continue, is that not helping?
Well, but the thing is, though, too, is what you're missing about what I said is that not all racism necessarily leads to oppression of a group. I mean, there's people that are racist against white people, and I would hardly say that white people are an oppressed group.
You don't vote Republican. Mikey and I just talked the other night on our show about colorism within the African American and Latinx communities due to some people being treated differently because they don't have enough pigmentation in their skin, and vice versa.
Not black enough, not white enough.
Right,
Yeah.
that's the thing. So, I struggle. All bigotry sucks. If you're bigoted against any group of people in a generalized way, except Nazis, it sucks. But I think that racism is something that anyone can display because race is such a nebulous definition. I don't like the argument because,
right.
I mean, are Native Americans a race, or are like the Blackfeet tribe a race, or are like West Africans different from like South Africans, or like indigenous Australians? Are they different from indigenous?
Well, and the thing is, it's funny you bring this up because I've often said, when people talk about race and particularly to people that might say racist things, in chats or whatever, my response to them is always, well, we're all the same race. We're the human race.
White guy has hand up.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is,
see, they're trying to keep me down. I don't want me to speak.
Yeah, I think more precisely, what we're talking about is ethnicity.
Sure. And being against a certain ethnic group because they're part of that ethnic group, right? That's what I'm saying. That's why I hate racism, because it's not about racism, it's about ethnicity. I guess I didn't articulate that well, but yeah, I think the answer to your question plainly is yes. More complex, it is, yeah.
Well, let me suggest something that might change this a little
again,
bit. I agree that
I have my hand up.
sorry.
Yeah, Steve.
I believe I'm the eldest one here. So are you ageist?
No, I'm the oldest one.
I'm bigoted against people who can't make up their mind on a simple argument or proposition as to whether or not there is a God.
Right.
And so real quick, when you're talking about this institutionalized, just kind of a stipulated definition of racism, you have to look at where it came from. This idea that racism required power stemmed back to the 70s, early 70s. Okay. And it was the narrative that any kind of discrimination required some ability to oppress the other person's or the other group that you're being racist against or bigoted against. This is the same narrative that it comes to any kind of institutionalized system where one group is trying to take advantage of another group. That's what they're kind of referred to as the power base with that. However, there are minorities out there that have power. They have a lot of power, even in large groups. So, and they're still having racist against them. There's still things that are against them. So, I don't actually buy into the intersectionality approach to racism. And the intersectionality approach is more of what's called a persecution versus privilege model. And that is that who can have the most privilege, who can have the most persecution, and cry out about it. I definitely think racism occurs. I think it's horrible. I don't think it requires power. But I see a lot of situations where people, are crying out racism because they're trying to run a persecution narrative by saying other people have privilege, which is a class warfare thing. When it comes to these races, race is merely a social construct that's involving many things. It cultural things, characteristics of people, linguistic characteristics. A lot of things go into what we consider to be a race as a category. There's no biological thing when it comes to that. Right. I don't race realism.
Right. And I think a lot of racists, you'll talk to them and say, well, I'm not racist. I have a black friend. And they believe this. That's their definition. Like, there's black people that I know that I will allow into my home, so I can't be racist.
Yeah, I get that. But for example, let's say I was married to a black woman, right? I mean, somebody would have to think I'm pretty damn stupid to be racist when I'm married. Now, granted, that doesn't mean that I can't be racist, but the chances are pretty, low. I said one time that I think black women are beautiful because I do, right? I was accused of racism for that. I'm like, do you understand that is I mean, do you not get that, people? But it's so funny because that lends into the whole persecution versus privilege that people will find this moral outrage to come up with.
Sure.
I think Mikey's the best looking guy here. So
yeah, that's only because my video's not working.
Out here winning.
I hate him because he looks like he's a 26-year-old stud muffin, man.
I mean, I'll be honest.
I turn 32 next week. Thank you very much, Steve.
See, he even aged well.
Well, let me make a suggestion that's not that far off from what Steve was saying, which is I do think that racism requires power, but I don't think that there is, for the most part, any minority in this country that is without power. There are some who have a vast power differential and who are very much on the low side of the power scale, but they're not without power. So while I agree that you need power to be racist, power fluctuates based on a wide, power is never static and it changes every day. It changes with every encounter. So I think you can have someone who may be racist in one set of circumstances and not in another.
Clarify that. Do you need power to implement your racism? If I just have a belief that one race is superior to another, I don't see power involved in that, right? That's an epistemic thing where I'm just saying, hey, I believe my particular race is better than somebody else's race, or vice versa, that their race is better than my race, right? You can be a member of a race and think that another race is superior, right? That's right. Still in some ways racism because I don't think you necessarily have to think
that's a fair point. I
think it's superior.
Look at Louis.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah, go ahead, Reid. You haven't been in here yet.
No, it's okay. No, I love listening to all you guys. I respect all of you. Who's gonna who could sit there and actually look at Louis Farrakhan and say that guy isn't racist? That guy has some pretty racist rhetoric.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
So this is because I was talking about one thing, John, and you were talking about another thing. What do you mean by racist when you say racist, MJ?
Oh, me?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm reading. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this damn thing, but
no, but you were talking about Louis, Minister Farrakhan. What do you mean he is racist when you say he's racist? Because I think we're all thinking we all have the same definition, and all of us has slightly varying things. Because I had a series of questions of racist versus prejudice, but what do you mean that Farrakhan is racist?
Well, the rhetoric I've heard from him is, he seems to dislike the white oppressors, as he calls them, but He seems
Well, I
to
don't
have.
blame him for that, but that's not.
No, I don't either. I'm
No,
not.
I think you're
I'm not trying to
that
step in it over here, but
Farrakhan, I think,
He
believes
made
that.
some anti-Semitic remarks, though.
Yeah,
He's made some
yeah,
reasonably significant anti-Semitic
But
remarks.
I believe that he thinks that the black race is a more superior race. Look at the Black Hebrew Israelites; they definitely think that they are the chosen people. They are like anti-Semitic to non-black Jews, and anybody who's not of their skin tone, thinking that it is from a specific tribe, one of the 12 different tribes that they come up with that relate to the tribes of the Bible, including I think they include Puerto Ricans now, they include Cuban, Dominican Republic. But if you're not a member of any one of those tribes, they considered you to be not just a heathen. In some of those organizations, I'm not even kidding here, they consider you to be demonic, such that you are a spawn of alien creation.
Listen, blue-eyed white devil, you've talked enough.
I'm not even exaggerating this.
Actually, that was a very good Louis Farrakhan impression that you just did, Mike.
You white devil.
That was Malcolm X. Get out of here.
But Malcolm X changed. Malcolm X, he was hardcore at the beginning because he had a lot of oppression and he was lashing out. But I think toward the end, I think he changed his position a little bit.
Oh, he changed throughout. He's one of the few people I love Martin Luther King Jr., one of my heroes. But one of the things that Martin Luther King Jr. did not change in the same way that Malcolm X. So few people really take control of their lives and fundamentally change. And boy, I mean, that is just a guy. And he was changing his whole life, and he was becoming better his whole life.
Yep.
And that's why
he was striving to.
Yeah. And that's why he got killed.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, that's why. Well, yeah, that's one of the reasons he got killed. I mean, Martin Luther King Jr. got killed, and he wasn't changing his whole life.
But they bucked the system back then, and people didn't like that. And there's freedoms nowadays where people can say a lot, and not have those mob mentalities. But I think even Mikey would agree. In certain places, you say if you're somebody of color and you say certain things, there's going to be shit to pay, unfortunately, and that's what people need to fight against. That's the racism that everybody needs to stand up against and say that is not appropriate.
And that's one thing that I wanted to touch on with John, but we never got a chance to because it was already like 4:30 in the morning, and it was a done deal at that point. But there's a difference because I said that America is racist. America has a racist issues.
Right.
And
it's a racist history.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's still happening today because a lot of people a lot of people that I associate with, pretty much all the people I associate with, they're not just not racist, they are anti-racist. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between someone not being a racist and being anti-racist.
Wouldn't you rather have him be anti-racist?
Those are the people that I associate
those are the people he hangs with. But does that mean that the country is racist? I mean, isn't there a distinction between saying that the country is racist and that the country has severe racist issues?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and this is my response to Mikey at the time, is that because the way he worded it then, he seemed to be implying that all of America is racist, and the fact of the matter is that and this is where he disagreed me on, I would say that the majority of white America is not racist.
Nowadays, maybe.
Yeah, nowadays, right.
That's a recent occurrence. Like we're talking maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing was though too is even back in the 60s during the civil rights movement, okay, if back then say the black population was 10% or 12% of the population, without the support of many people in the white community, civil rights would not have come about. When you look at those marches back then, many of them, there are many white people marching right alongside with their black brothers.
Okay.
But if I can,
go ahead.
Just a real quick, I would like to point out that I do think that you can have people who staunchly were for Barack Obama, and not even just like because it was him versus Hillary, but long before they were for Obama, they voted for him, they worked for the campaign, and would still maybe be racist, and there are still things that they liked about him. But I think it's a bit more complicated than just, well, so many. I would probably disagree with the more than half or less than half racist. I think it's probably more than half. But
I think it's pretty close.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve.
Well, real quick, I was just saying, I think it's pretty close, and I think a lot of that is going to be contrary to what people actually think is the reason. I actually think that we're probably less racist now because of Trump. Okay, and let me explain why. Trump allowed for the actual bigots to come out and be known. The people that were afraid to actually, put forth their real positions, they now felt emboldened. They felt that they had power to do and say negative things and have no ramifications for it. When they started to do that because of Trump, the backlash was swift. And I think that backlash has led to a snowballing effect of people now recognizing that there is racism and there is more pushback to it than there ever was before. That's
Can I get in here real quick? Right. I was just gonna go to you, Puff. You opened your mic up, so I knew you wanted to talk.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think that you guys are talking past what Mikey is saying. What Mikey is saying is that not the majority of Americans are actively racist. What he's saying is that America as a nation is racist. And we have very short, wait a second, hold on. We have very short memories for this. And the reason why I say that is, think back to what happened after 9/11, right? Think back to 9/11. What happened during 9/11? We literally, as a nation, told Arab people that we were passing the baton of racism to them, right? There was many jokes made about this. This is a thing that we did, right? And we all as a nation joked about it. And now 20 years, not even 20 years later, we're like, oh no, no, there is in the heart of America, not just parts of America. I'm saying in the heartbeat of America, there is a racist pinning, right? And that's something that we haven't gone far enough. I don't think we've gone nearly far enough to actually address where, and the thing is, it's not to say that people aren't getting to the point where they can't stomach the racism anymore, right? And it's gotten to the point where lower forms of racism now do pop up or do trigger people's awareness of racism going on around them. But what I'm saying is that when the opportunity presents itself, America makes no pause to show that it has racist undertones.
Let me interject real quick, Puff. I mean, here's the thing, though. When you say America is racist, to me, that statement entails that all Americans are racist, and that's just not true. Parts of America are racist, but not all Americans are racist.
What I'm saying is, it's an American. That's the thing. Think about America, right? It's an American thing, right? What is the American thing, right? Othering, right? It's the world against us, right? That's the way it's been forever. And when it's not the world against us, it's let's pick a group inside of America that it's them against everybody else. And we do that. And that's what I'm saying is if we play that game all the time, we can't say that our country is not racist. That's what I'm saying.
I disagree with that. I think it's individuals that do that.
Interesting point.
I think it's people that'll do that. But I first of all, I really don't like putting anthropomorphic descriptions to something that is incapable of being racist, right? America is a term that we use for a collective of people that reside in an actual geological boundary, a demographic of people. And when you say that America is racist, the only way I can possibly take that is that do you think the majority of people in America tend to racism? I don't. I think that the majority of people are anti-racist for the most part. As Ricky pointed, Mikey pointed out. I don't know where I got Ricky from. Whatever. I'll call you what I want. Usually as night goes on, I can start calling
the guy who got shot in Boys in the Hood. That's what he just called me. Y'all heard it, right? He just tried to assassinate my character just now. Yeah.
So when you have when you have a group of people that like you said, will pick something to persecute, whether it be the blacks, Jews, whatever, they'll pick a group. That happens, right? That does happen. But I am seeing, as somebody who's been around a very long time, a swift turn from a lot of those things. I am seeing more people being outraged by these things. Look, when I see 4 people from Westboro Baptist Church holding picket signs, and the camera pans around as you see 300 people going, "Fuck you," I'm seeing progress, and I see the same thing with racial terms as well. People are not tolerating this stuff anymore. This is the direction I see in the country. So maybe predominantly over 50%, maybe. If that is the case, that America has people that are racist, but I think that is declining very, very quickly. And again, I think it's more concentrated regionally. You go back south, you're going to see a lot more of that than you are like in my area. Mine's a liberal area, like nobody gives a shit.
Can I push back on that for 1 second, Steve?
Push back, yeah, damn right.
Oh, Jesus!
And then Mikey, after you go, I'd like to get Dave in here.
I'm sorry, harassing him.
Like, because I live in Chicago, right? Very, everyone thinks it's a very mixed culture, but it's a very segregated culture. And then if you drive 30, 40 miles outside of Chicago, it is Trump flags, it is pickup trucks, and it is Confederate flags. So the wide swaths of America that we all look over because that's not on TV, those areas exist and those areas are real. I have to drive through those areas to go to work every day.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
I know what time it is when I'm outside of where it's cool to be who you are. And I think we're kind of just like in that election, we kind of underestimate how many people are in those drive-through flyover country kind of places. That's why I say what I say, because I can go through 15 towns and I know damn well it is not time to get gasoline.
No, I totally agree with 1,000% on that.
You know what I'm saying? So just because there's a lot of us in these very culturally diverse and open-minded areas and everyone's very accepting of each other, I don't know that actually speaks to the actual diaspora of Americans. I don't know that that's
I
think we're in bubbles.
Well, let me ask you this, Mike. Let me ask you this. Should we take? Okay, I think it has to be taken as an aggregate. But do you think that we should stop talking about Americans and start talking about states? Because this is a state-by-state issue. I think you would agree that certain states have a propensity to be more racist than other states. California is the most diversified state there is, probably. I mean, it is most.
I lived in New York, and I still heard and felt a lot of it.
Yeah, no, New York is pretty. But if you
go to Northern California, it's super racist up there. Like those people want to get the fuck out, and they want to make their own state to get rid of the brown people.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, I'll give you that. But I'm in Southern California.
So in every state in America, there's pockets of extreme racism, and in every state in America, there's pockets of inclusion and anti-racism. But it's present in every state in America, and in the most important and most populous cities in those states. That is why I say, and I agree with Mikey, that at the heart of America, we're racist, right? Yes, you said there was 350 people protesting the Westboro Baptist Church, but how many thousands of people were in that city that didn't say anything, didn't do anything, and rode by shaking their head like both you fucking groups are wasting your goddamn time. Just read the Bible and shut the fuck up.
Yeah, well, and keep in mind, just because they're protesting the church doesn't mean they're not racist. You can be a racist and still be.
I wasn't using that as an example for racism.
Well, I have two quick things on this. First of all, 62 million people voted for Donald Trump. Not saying that those 62 million people were racist, but they were fine enough with racist rhetoric to still vote for Donald Trump.
I don't think I would give you a little pushback on that.
Hold on. Second of all, I can provide so much evidence that more Black and Latinx people are targeted by cops for arrest. Their prosecutions are worse. They are killed more per capita. So Mikey has a great point that there's an institutional thread of racism throughout our nation.
Number two, we can't disagree. Number two, I agree with you 100%. But the number one, I disagree with, and here's why. When Hillary and Trump were running against each other, a lot of people voted for Trump because of two reasons. One, they didn't want the old guard back. They were around during the Hillary Clinton administration. They remember the debacles. They were large, they were huge, and they didn't want the country to go back that. The other people may have voted for Trump, and by the way, these are ones that are not her supporters, but the other people might have voted for Trump just because they wanted to watch the world burn and say, look, he's going to be a shit president, but we're going to learn from it, and we don't want Hillary. I'm one of those people. And I still would stand by that. I think that Trump has probably, if you look on the silver lining, because he has been so bad, he's forced us to recognize the darkness that you're talking about with America, and that it is being changed, and that there's legislation being made solely because he became president. There has been things that no other president has brought up before because he's that fundamentally bad. So I think that
but here's the thing: is that all those people.
Hold on, Pop.
I think that people are.
Steve, you just proved my point.
I think people are stuck on the short term and not looking at the long term.
No, but you literally just proved my point. That's what I said. I said that I don't think his voters are racist, but they're okay enough.
I don't think I didn't get to that part yet. So let me finish.
Okay. All right.
And so the racist rhetoric, I didn't think Trump was that racist before he got in office. Okay. So it's not that I would have voted for Trump because
the birther movement, Steve.
Let me finish. The birther movement has fuck all to do with this. I don't think that he was fundamentally racist. I think he was a stupid. I think that he was just incompetent, and he wouldn't know what racism was at the time. However, now that he's been in office, now it's coming to fruition. It's coming to the fact. I mean, what he said about the senators is just you can't argue. You know that wasn't racist. It definitely was racism.
Congress.
So,
people,
but
yes.
Yeah, but okay. No, I don't think they're looking. Hang on. I don't think they're looking past racism. I think that a lot of people like myself, and even some of his followers, they're like, yeah, maybe he wasn't so. It's not that matter of racist because again, that's a hyperbolic loaded term. So I don't think they're looking past that type of rhetoric. What I think they looked past was the rhetoric was what he said about grabbing, pussy grabbing. I think that was something people were willing to look past.
So go ahead, Puff, real quick, if you want to respond to that, and then Dave. We haven't heard from Dave.
Okay, so here's my problem, right? Here's my problem with what Steve just said, right? Because I think he's totally missing the whole point. Like, it's blowing past him like a fucking bullet train right now. So here's the deal, right? Is that if you fucking let's break this down. It's not even voting for the president, right? You're sitting at a table at a bar, right? You don't know half the people at the table, but somebody says some openly racist shit, right? And a couple people at the table chuckle, but a couple people don't, and everybody's still sitting at the table, but like maybe one person gets up and walks away, right? Everybody looks at the people sitting at that table as, yeah, you might not be a racist, but you definitely support racism. And the thing is that all of those voters that you said, I'm going to vote for him because I hate Hillary, right? All of those people were confronted with, yes, but he's a racist, a sexist, a bigot, right? Oh, well, that's no problem. I don't like Hillary, right? So what they're saying is, I have no problem with those things as long as you hate my enemy as well. I'm willing to back up those things. And that's what we're saying is there's only two sides. There's racism and anti-racism, right? Supportive racism is in the camp of racism. I'm sorry, because this is the thing, right? If you don't stand by, you can go to the most egregious thing. You see somebody in the street beating a fucking dog to death with a bat, right? And you don't even say nothing. You just stand there. You don't say nothing. You speak. You don't cry out. Nothing, right? You can't say that you did not support that person.
Yeah, I totally disagree with that. Well,
because
this is critical.
You could have simply used your voice and said, I don't support you.
This is the dangerous
no, it's not, because the thing is, when you support people that are open racists, you cannot turn around and say, I don't support racism. It's not.
Let me explain why this is. Let me explain why this is a dangerous narrative, because this is either you're with us, you're against this narrative. There are people that have inactions for their own well-being and safety. What we're talking about racism, we're talking about our belief system, right? I could fundamentally reject racism. I could be completely anti-racist, which I am. But if I see something and I think that it is not in anybody's best interest to get involved because of safety concerns or whatever, that doesn't mean that I necessarily condone racism. Being neutral on something as far as not taking a stance doesn't mean you're one position or the other. I understand there are people that may not want to get involved in these types of discussions. That's like saying, well, anybody in the live feed that doesn't join us is racist because they don't want to get involved. No, there are people that don't get involved for personal reasons. I get that. I'm not going to label them racist or okay with racism.
Hold on, Puff. Dave sent me a message saying he has a question he wants to interject here.
Yeah, well, I'll comment on what Steve's saying too, because I agree with what Steve's saying. So as an example on what Steve's saying before I go to the question, let's say I'm in, I don't know, a bar in the middle of middle America, full of people, bunch of racists, right? I don't know this. I'm not a racist. I have no interest in beating up on people. I'm sitting there minding my business. Black guy walks in, half the bar gets up and decides to kick the shit out of him. I may not be in a position to say, hey, stop doing that, lest the bar kick the shit out of me, right? Like, I may entirely disagree, but out of safety concerns, because of the situation, not get involved or get involved in a different way, right?
Yeah, like call 911.
that makes you immediately supporting racism, because in that situation, as you don't have the power to prevent it.
Well, take the black guy out of it. Just put any guy.
Anybody, yeah.
This is what I'm saying. Wait, hang on. Let's say that Nick went into a bar and he started getting beaten on. Am I a sudden anti-Nick?
God. Thank
well, yeah, we
God.
don't let that happen. I know we let that happen. Am I anti-Nick? Am I? Oh, I want to see Nick get beat up. No, it just doesn't work that way. But Nick,
let me interject one thing. I know Dave has a question, but I wanted to interject one thing too, which is, and this is why that was in my opinion one heck of a straw man. Because here's the thing: there are people who voted for Trump because they're racist. I've got no doubt. But there are people who voted against Hillary not just because they didn't like her, but because they actually thought she was a criminal, because they thought she was colluding with the Russians. And so the narrative that you just painted is now, if I don't vote for the person who I think betrayed our country, and I vote for the other guy, I'm a racist. Thank you for painting that.
So you're the racist, or you're
or betray the country, and so you literally that is the narrative. I have that choice. That's insane.
No, what I'm saying is you took the choice to say I'm not going to vote for a criminal, but I am going to. I'm not a racist, but I'm willing to vote for an open racist because I think the other person is a criminal. I know this other person is a legitimate criminal, but I'm going to vote for an avowed racist or an open racist because I think that she's a criminal.
No, they know she is. In their mind, they know she is.
Yeah,
I think she broke the law.
It's just like in that old South Park episode. The choice for that election was I forget what it was, like a shit sandwich and a
douche and a turd sandwich.
Yeah, between a douche and a turd sandwich. Dave, what was your question, Dave, that you wanted to inject?
Well, I mean, we skimmed over the topic of whether or not power is required in racism, and I wanted to pop back to that for a second and ask.
Well, can we finish with this first?
Yeah,
I have a follow-up.
I want to clarify one thing. I want to clarify. When I said they think she's a racist, they think she's a criminal, I said that because she's not a criminal. I didn't say that because they don't, in their minds, say, I know she's a criminal. In their minds, they know for a fact she's a criminal and she betrayed this country. So their choice, according to you, is vote for someone who they think, as in their minds, they know for a fact she betrayed this country, or vote for a racist. I have to tell you, I know if I had to vote for one of them, I know what I'd vote for.
Yeah, it's you're playing the lesser of two evils based upon what you think is the lesser of two evils for ethical considerations. I think Hillary was worse.
You can abstain,
but I think you can abstain. Sure, obviously.
I want to clarify something real quick. I didn't say that anyone who voted for Trump did support racism. That's not what I said. I just said that they were okay with it.
And I disagree that they're okay with it.
I understand. I just want to make sure that
they may not be. I can say, look, I hate racism, but I'm still going to vote for Trump because I have major issues with Hillary, or vice versa. Sure. I'm going to vote for Hillary because I have major issues with Trump. I'm going to overlook the fact that Hillary was involved in very despicable dealings that go back 20, 30 years, right? And again, it's a lesser of two evils. But let me give you an example of the whole either with us or against us mentality. You guys may remember somebody by the name of Dr. Richard Carrier, right? A friend of mine. And back in the day, Richard had that exact mentality. He actually would say, either you're with us or against us when it came to feminism. Either you believe a woman when she said she was raped or violated or something like that, or you're against us. Until it happened to him. He was Me Too'd, whether it's true or false, whatever. I've looked at some of the documents I've seen what Skeptic had it on, and it's pretty amusing to say the least, one way or another. The lack of self-awareness I think that Richard had in these dialogues with some people. But he had it happen to him. If in other words, people were like, well, wait a minute, do we believe her or now we're not feminists any longer? So this whole approach of either you're with us or against us, he learned really quick, doesn't work. I don't think he buys into that any longer. It's a very dangerous precedence to set, I think.
I agree.
So my thing was but you said also that Trump, you didn't think he was a racist before that. He didn't show racist tendencies, but he has a lifelong record of actual racist activities, like real deal racist shit. The Central Park 5, he got fucking in the 70s, he got taken to court because he was proven by the government to be racially discriminating on the purposes of housing, right? And it happens over and over and over and over again. Just through the 2000s, he had 10 documented instances of outright racism. He's a racist, an avowed racist. He's been that way his whole life, but to the point where I believe what David McInnis says. He thinks that he's actually viewing the world through a clear set of glasses.
Again, I think he just is a piece of shit that he thinks all people are a piece of shit that don't. That I mean, if the Central Park 5 were white, he probably would have said the same things. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that he looks down on people that are not of his station. Now, could he have a special prejudice toward blacks? I don't know. It may well be. I'm not in the guy's head. Do I think he thinks a lot of people are a piece of shit that are not just, of his stature? Then yes, he looks down on people quite a bit, but that's because I think he's a pompous asshole.
But look what he did to John McCain.
I have to push back though. I think if the Central Park 5 were white, he would have accused a woman of being the problem.
Yeah, but look what he did to John McCain. And if John McCain had been black, you'd have said he was doing it because he was black. Well, no, he's doing it because.
No, he went after John McCain because John McCain busted his ass out for being a fucking draft dodger, and he said, "Look, I may not have been the best service member ever, but I did what I did. I spent 5 years in the Hanoi Hilton for my country. You fucking busted out bones first to dodge the draft."
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. But again, Nick's right. If McCain was black, I think people would be going, "Oh, look, he's racist because he's going after McCain because he's black." You can always throw that card out there.
Well, and he goes after. He's that way to everybody. But I also want to make one other thing. I've spoken to a number. I interview and discuss strange people, and I've talked with members of the KKK, and to a man, not one of them thinks they're racist. Not one of them thinks they're racist. It doesn't matter how long they're in the KKK. Yeah. You ask them, they are not racist for no other reason than, hey, it's not racist if it's true.
They think they're pure, like a puritist, but they're not racist for some reason.
Well, they're not racist because it's not racist if it's true, and so that's what that's the defense, and because they're right.
That's pretty dumb.
So, Dave, what was that question you wanted to?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, it goes into the question of whether or not you need a power component for somebody to be racist, because I've heard people go back and forth on this. Right? Let me ask you this, Mikey. Because I've heard people say that this is not possible because of the power dynamic. Can somebody who's black be racist against white people?
And this is why I started us off in the way that I tried to, but we kind of got askew from that.
Different uses of the term.
Yeah, because like what enough people are saying is racist isn't what I'm saying as racist. Right. Because I can be prejudiced. Hold on, I can be prejudiced, I can be bigoted, and I can be a fuck. You know what I'm saying? I can be all of those things, but I don't have a way of oppressing a white person. So how?
Mute me right now, motherfucker. Mute me. I'm pressed.
Well, no, here. Okay, so let's.
But that's a very weak version of oppression. You know what I mean?
I get that.
It may be weak, but it still is. It's a binary state. Let's say that there's a white guy who comes into your bank, you run the bank, he's asking for an auto loan, and you say, well, this situation, this is golden, this happens to me so many times, and you switch the situation, and because he's white, you deny him for the loan. In that particular case, you do have the power. You may not have it in society, but this is why I brought up the point about power. Power fluctuates from moment to moment and in every single situation. So, while I agree you need the power.
Well, this is...
Hold on, but to answer Nick, so there's a difference between me not hiring someone because of their race, and I have a sign that says no blacks, Irish, or dogs apply.
I get that, but there's a coextensionality there for any type of like, for example, this would be coextensional. If you and I go for a job, okay, and you get hired for the fact that you're black, it is by coextension that I am not hired because I'm white, right? They're intricately linked, right? Would you agree with that? Because you got hired for one thing, and because I wasn't that one thing, I was not hired. Then in that case, you have the power. but I was the one being somebody was racist against me because I was white. Now, that does happen. Now, people don't consider that to be racist. They call that affirmative action, which at one time, by the way, I was very pro affirmative action back in the day. And I do agree that it was needed. I think it needs to be fading out. I think it's served its purpose.
Well, the good old boys club is an actual thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Of course it is.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I think the difference between the two scenarios that I gave out is like, there's a difference between one person who has it's their judgment call and the policy.
Mm-hmm.
If the policy is blacks don't work here versus Jaquan ain't really getting a job over here today.
Yeah, well,
I think that's the difference between prejudice when someone is prejudiced against Jaquan as opposed to no, we don't hire blacks.
Oh, so just out of curiosity, for racism, are you saying racism basically as in racism therefore is something that you would define on an institutional level? So when you're talking racism, you're talking institutionalized.
Yeah, because I don't even fuck it. Like when people drop the M-bomb in my face and they want to call me this and call me that, it happens at work from time to time because of my industry. I don't even see that person's not even racist to me because they're just a broke motherfucker that lives out in the boondocks. Like that
is a huge help if I understand it. Yeah, that makes sense.
You can't even be racist to me. You have nothing. You can't do. I make twice what you make.
I think.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not oppressed by you. I'm insulted, but I'm not oppressed.
I will agree there's a subtle difference between racism and prejudice. I think all forms of racism are a form of prejudice, but I think there are some prejudice that are not based upon race that we all have for certain reasons. For example, let's say that I have a pickup game, right? And you and Nick are standing there, and Dave over here has told me, hey, Nick's a white guy. He sucks at basketball, right? I will automatically have a prejudice against him, right? I have a bias against him based upon information that is hearsay because I have no idea whether Nick can play ball or not. He could be a pro athlete, but hey, Mikey's black. He has to know how to play basketball. It's in the genes, right? Oh, yeah. That is,
Nick is a 3-point marksman. Don't get shit confused.
He is.
He's like Larry Legend out there, baby. He's got that.
I'm just happy that in this example, I wasn't getting beat to death by 6 guys.
I tell you, by the way, I thought about it.
That can change. That can change.
Good question. Good question from Saka.
One sec, Mikey. I will take you up on your offer. If you ever get a chance to, I will go with a basketball game with you.
Oh, dude, it's gonna be so much fun.
I will give it a shot. How about that?
I want to hang with Mikey. I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna hang with Mikey.
Mikey was trying to talk me into going to a game with him. I'm like, dude, I hate basketball.
All right, hold on, guys. We're gonna ask this question from the live chat. And for some reason, he added Steve with the question instead of me. Damn you, Saka. Damn you, Saka. Anyway, do you think people of different ethnicities should be weighed differently in education, employment opportunities, depending on how oppressed they are? That's for the panel.
What's your measure of oppression?
Yeah, and here's the thing. Look, we do understand that different areas have different levels of oppression and different things for education. There are certain areas where ethnicities are at a disadvantage. There is no question about that. It has been changing. I think that it's not a money issue. This is one thing I disagree with a lot of people on. I don't think throwing money at the problem is going to solve the problem. I think
bullshit.
It'll help, but it doesn't solve it. They've actually tested this, and they've shown that just by throwing money randomly, willy-nilly, does not actually solve the problem. The problem has to start with the teachers and the parents, because the parents' involvement is critical in those neighborhoods. Once the parent gets involved and the teachers get involved more, shows that statistically the scholastic levels have gone up dramatically. Just by tossing money, it isn't really going to help much. Now, it doesn't hurt, but
money in the parents' hands where they have more financial stability, they tend to do better with their kids. I mean, there's plenty of correlation there as well. Here's a really quick question, because I wanted to ask this to Mikey before. So let me just give you a scenario and tell me how this fits into your model, because it might give me a better understanding. Let's say you have a handful of people, 5-6 people, definitely racist, right? They're like blonde hair, blue eye, KKK, card carrying, definitely racist. We 100% agree on that, okay? And we'll do a little thought experiment. So you have those 5 people, they get put on ice. They're just frozen, right? 500, 600 years goes by, and all of the races have blended on Earth. Okay, so everybody's pretty
homogenized.
Okay, so these are the last 5 white guys around. Okay, they wake these guys up.
How long should I wait to kill them? Is that what you're asking me?
No,
I'm joking.
See if they really do taste like chicken.
so they wake up. They're the last 5 white people. There's pretty much no measurable race anymore. But they're mentally where they were before, and they say, we're outnumbered now, but we're going to sneak around and kill as many of these people on the sly as we can. And they get away with it for years, right? They just sneakily go around serial killing people. Are they now no longer racist because they're the minority?
I think the definition that I'm using and what I apply to my life is that it's more about oppression other than murder. I mean, murder is murder. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think the only way that I would push back in a little way is if they decided that they were going to come up and they started a business and then they're not going to hire the mixed aggregate of everybody else. No, because they don't have any power. They're not the majority. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can't actually affect everyone else's lives with their 5-person business.
Maybe not, but I mean, if they're
racist,
they're still motivated by the same sort of hate.
Or
would
you call them prejudice at that point? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you see, I think when he says racist, I think he's added not just the psychological motive, but a sociological construct that is absent in these other. I think that's the difference.
That's the thing. Nobody here is using these words inappropriately. It's just using them in a specific context. And my context, I get. I have read about the prejudice versus power narrative that was put forth by was it Biddle? I think her name was back in 1970. I can't remember. Patricia Biddle, if I remember correctly. Somebody can look it up. But this has been something that's very, very prevalent. And, also in the rape culture, they had that as well. Rape was considered to be power rather than sexual. Now feminist standpoints theory is starting to take a relook at that because they're starting to note that is not necessarily the case either. There are sexualized components to it. So this thing of power isn't always the case. Now, do I think Mikey's wrong? No, I think Mikey's right for the way he's using it. And I think that Dave's using it the way he's using it is right. So there is no wrong answer to be had here. And that's just, why you have to look at how a person's using these terminologies.
And I think where I stand is
Harry.
If anybody hates a particular ethnicity, are based solely on their ethnicity, then that person's racist.
I think so. I think as well. But he's not. I don't think Mike's going to use it that way. But I would.
No, but for me, and my experience, that definition would be so broad and there'd be so many people that I would have to just
sense.
I can't even use the same definition that you're talking about, or else I would have to erase literally
you're
hundreds and hundreds of or else I would have to erase hundreds and hundreds of people out of my life as racist if I use it the way that you're stating.
Yeah. Okay, I agree, and I think he makes a good point. But I think there's other factors as well. You could start
but that's why I argue.
You have to use this definition or not.
But that's why I argue the point that I have. Just like if there's a broke, toothless motherfucker coming in talking about I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a this, I'm a that, and he jumps in his pickup truck with the Confederate flag on the back. Do I think he's a racist? No, I think he's a fucking crackpot. Like, this dude's an idiot.
I got another question. I got another question from the live chat from Sock account, and I think it might be a little tongue in cheek, but he says if I apply for a job at BET and they reject me because I'm white, was that racist?
Oh, that's a bullshit question because there's white people that work at fucking BET.
Why?
Okay, so hold on. I have a real world example.
Hang on, you asked a question. Let me explain why there's certain things. Okay, business model can be predicated upon a certain thing. First, like there was a suit that was brought forth with the Hooters girls that that they hired a very specific type of waitress, and people thought that was discriminatory. The court has said no. If your business model is set and predicated on a specific set of conditions, that business model is the whole thing on Black Entertainment TV is Black Entertainment TV. Does that mean they cannot hire a white person? No. Is it racist if they do or they don't? Somewhat. Do they have the legal thing to hire you? I think so in that particular case, because that's not a business model like Hooters would be, right? I think that Black Entertainment Television, maybe for like a commentator position, they say, hey, we want to have, Black people talking about Black issues on camera. I can understand they would, in that case, that position is something that's business model oriented. But for any other position, then no. So it really depends, I think, the position you're hiring for. Like, example, in Hooters, you're not going to hire some big busted, beautiful blonde to go necessarily run the store as a manager unless she's competent enough to be a manager, right? That's the whole point of the waitress is to have that particular look, and the courts have said you can do that. So
every manager at a Hooters is a dirty old fat guy.
Every one of them, right? They all look like Nick. I don't know.
All of them are so. I drive for Uber Eats sometimes, and every time I have to go into a Hooters, it is always the nastiest, grimiest.
So Mikey, what you're saying is I have a shot at being a manager at Hooters.
We all do. Hell yeah, Hooters.
So, and now Sokka's tearing us up here. Here's another question you asked.
Oh, Sokka, really?
Very interesting.
Progressive Liberal wanted to go.
Yeah, I have a real world example. So in 1856, a man named John Brown did something that's called the Bleeding of Kansas. He got a bunch of guns and threw in the back of a wagon and got a bunch of friends together and tried to go free all the slaves. And he believed that he was going to free some slaves and arm them, and then they were going to free more slaves and capture artillery. Of course, it didn't work out, and he ended up being executed. Would you say that he was prejudiced against Southerners? Because I think he would be.
I think it'd be prejudiced against the Southern mentality.
Right.
Back then, the Southern mentality that
slave-owning Southerners, I guess.
I don't think that's how we generally use the word prejudice.
Right.
It's just because if you're biased doesn't mean you're necessarily prejudiced, right? If I have a bias against things like slavery, if I have bias against injustice, if I have bias against things that are unethical, you wouldn't use the term prejudice against them. Prejudice are usually things that I'm against Nick for something that I've heard about Nick would be prejudiced, or something about Nick that is unsubstantiated or unfactualized. That is something would be considered to be prejudicial.
And if they're against me because of my good looks, Steve, what would we call that?
Blind.
Well, we call you delusional.
Don't laugh too much at that joke, Mikey. Thank you. Jesus, never mind. Okay,
so here,
fine.
check it out. So here's one that Sock asked. If a woman is mugged 5 times, always by an Asian male, is she racist for not trusting Asian males from that point on?
No, she's prejudiced.
That's by Mikey's it should be
right. But I think that'd be justifiable.
Sure.
So does prejudice have
prejudice necessarily is something that's inherently evil?
Yeah.
I already said we all have certain types of prejudice.
Prejudice is just the name of it. That is not good, bad, or indifferent. That is what it is called. When you do X behavior, that is what it is called.
By the way, I don't think it'd be prejudice per se, because one of the things about prejudice is you have to have some kind of either an experience that like, for example, somebody telling me Nick can't play basketball, right? I've experienced something that I haven't looked into myself. I have a prejudice against him. She has a reason, right? She has an actual experience about a specific group of people that may lend into her reasoning being rational. Look, if I had 100 people and 99 in that group screwed me over, no matter what the characteristic was, I would have a natural affinity not to be with that group, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what the characteristic is. I don't think that's a preconceived prejudice, because prejudice is generally preconceived.
Yeah, but you're gonna need to have a way. I mean, I agree roughly, but you're still going to have a way to. So that's why I'd usually call it a bias as opposed to a prejudice.
Bias is fine.
A prejudice has a negative.
Well, I mean, if it's
a negative connotation.
Well, look. If it's justified bias or a justified prejudice, why isn't it still? It's still racist, isn't it?
No, because I don't think
If it's a bias or prejudice against a particular race, it's racist,
Here's the difference.
regardless of the justification.
Here's the difference, though. If that lady who got raped by 5 Asian men, or by Asian men 5 different times, whatever your kink, it would be different if she then ran for office to get all Asian men removed from the country.
Right. That would be racist.
I don't even think it needs to be that serious. I think if that experience made her then believe that Asians were inferior to her because of their ethnicity, that would then be racist.
Asians are rapers to that lady.
Right, exactly. Instead of just saying, "Oh, I'm going to stay away from Asian men because I have bad experiences," I think that's an inherent racist.
That's
So
not oppressive.
It should be a hate made.
So people can be prejudiced and people can have these things and they can be justified or unjustified, and that doesn't hurt the other group. But as soon as you actively have a prejudice that affects someone else, that is when you stroll into racism. In my
Mikey, and thank you to the psycho one for this. Now, say that woman that we're speaking of owns a business, and from that point forward, she'll never hire an Asian person.
That would be racist.
All right.
Yeah, that would be racist.
She's taking the attributes of her 5 people that happen to be a member and applying them above the whole race, which is irrational because it's not like okay. If we had, for example, a biker club like Hell's Angels, right? 100 Hell's Angels and 99 of them were shitty to you, then you could definitely say I don't want to hire a Hell's Angel, right? That'd be rational. But to say I have this happened with 5 Asians, and then I'm not going to hire any other Asians when you know it's not rational to attribute the attributes of rape to other Asians, that's irrational.
Right.
There's what, almost 1 billion Asian people, and these 5 people have changed. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
there's way more than 1 billion.
Look at you have enough larger population. Somebody's going to be raped 5 times by either 5 black guys, 5 Asians, 5 white guys. It's going to happen. So. It's just a numbers thing.
So, Gob Barrett says to him, it seems kind of odd that there's less racism now than at any time in our history, and we talk about it more than we ever did.
I think Gob's right, and I think that's good that we talk about it. And I think that there is less racism now than there ever has been.
Isn't it funny how the more we talk about it, the more that people either change their minds or the more that people shut up.
Really? Right? It's shocking. Holy cow.
Isn't that crazy? It's almost like they're connected. Until the voting booth.
Oh, then everything goes to shit.
And then the voting booth comes out, and then you look at, and that's something that I said to John in our hangout, is he's like, "Oh, America's not racist." I'm like, fucking Trump is the fucking president. I mean, they spent 8 years.
I'll tell you this, Mikey. I'll make you a bet now. Or do you ready for this? If Trump gets reelected, I will concede that America is predominantly racist.
What's the
I am conflicted. Yeah, we got to figure out what the stakes are, but I am now conflicted because I will not vote for Trump.
I'm willing to change my position. If America votes Trump in, I'm going to be disillusioned like you wouldn't believe about America.
Right, just to get him wrong.
Well, hold on.
I'm willing to vote for Trump. I'm thinking about it.
Well, hold on, and that's the reason why. The reason why that's a good point is okay. Now, for some of the reasons that Steve enumerated earlier, back during the election, there may have been a large segment of the people that voted for Trump that didn't consider that he was racist, but weren't aware of it, and now they're on notice that he is. So if he voted in again,
maybe. I
think the jury's still out, but it sure looks like the way he's made racist comments. There's no question about that.
I think one of the demographic where I live, you might not want to make that bet, Steve.
Why, they're pro-Trump?
My God! Everywhere. We're in the reddest county in the state of Michigan.
Oh man, Reid, move, man! You got to move, man! Don't do that. No, God, I'd lose my mind.
I would love to move, but
listen, there is a high chance Trump will get reelected. Okay, don't think.
I think there's a possibility. I don't want to put it a high chance.
He already won by losing by 3 million votes.
It's a very high chance.
I got to get going here because I got to prepare for the rum and coke night. But I'll leave you with this. I think this is again a situation where the DNC has it into they can win or lose. They can piss it away if they want. If they decide to go for impeachment, they're going to piss it away. Now, would I like to see Trump impeached? Sure. Do I think it's a good idea to impeach him? No. Let me explain why. You can only focus so much attention on certain things, and wasting your time to impeach him, which probably wouldn't happen till the end of the term anyways, when you could be trying to get voters, the things out there to get a decent candidate to run against him to win the next election, that should take priority. So,
you know,
they need to stop the
we could go
impeachment talk.
2 hours on this, Steve. I talk about this on Twitter all the time, but
agree or disagree?
I think you're fundamentally incorrect. But
really,
I don't have enough. I couldn't explain it in 10 minutes.
There's no
I think
possible
the
way.
establishment Democrats
What would be the? There's only
Trump
one.
than Bernie Sanders.
And there's only one possible reason to impeach him right now, and that's only to affect his ego. It's not going to affect anything else. If first of all, it's going to get shot down in the Senate, and it wouldn't be moving him off office, so he's going to serve out his term anyways. So
sure,
what would be the point?
I'm not saying I am not. An impeachment would not remove him from office. I completely, absolutely agree with you. Yes,
I would have focused the attention on getting him outvoted, and then once he's out of office, go after him for criminal proceedings.
Yeah.
Again, indicted while he's president, but he sure the hell can't be when he's out of office. According to well, it depends on the statute of limitation, but I think what they're going to do is they're going to relook at some of the statutes, and this is again something I said this has never happened before.
Right,
President Trump is the first one to bring any of this shit up because he's just that bad. But now they have to. Now they have to go and look at if the statute of limitation actually holds to a sitting president, or does it put on some kind of hold because he's unindictable? That's something for the courts to decide.
Sure, I think. No, I understand. I mean, there's a reason he and McConnell are packing the courts with conservative judges.
Yes, you're right.
I think impeachment. The purpose that impeachment serves right now would be to help the information. There's a lot of people that think that the Russians didn't collude at all in the 2016 election.
They did. Of course they did.
They absolutely. I mean, the Senate report that just came out.
Collude on the next one too.
There's a Senate report that just came out yesterday that no one is talking about. The Russians got into all 50 states' election systems. It's not a conspiracy. Like, it's not a fucking conspiracy theory.
And this is going to change if they.
Look, wait, did you see my tweet? Go ahead.
If you impeach him, I can't fathom if somebody hasn't. I agree. There are people who don't know that yet. There are people who it just hasn't sunk in.
Sure.
None of those people. If you impeach him, all they're going to see is the Democrats are going after him.
Yeah.
And are you going to change even one human being off of that?
It's not worth it. But did you see my tweet about what I thought was the most telling thing that Mueller said during his Senate hearings?
No.
When he had said, he was asked if this is the new norm, he said something to the effect of, "I'm afraid so."
Yes,
the Russians will be involved in the next election.
Well, there were 3 huge things that he said. You should go read my blog to find out what they were. But
good plug. I like that.
You cross-pollinating son of a bitch.
Snuck in there, really.
I'm gonna have to read that shit now. Damn it!
It's patreon.com/asaprogressive.
Oh God, we totally opened that up. We gave him that opportunity, and I think I'm going to accidentally hit the eject button now. But it was fun while it lasted.
No,
let me show you what sniping really is.
I would love to talk to you about this. I just don't think we could do it. You make really good points. I have some counterpoints, but I've got to meet with you.
Let's have Steve McRae on the
after show. You think he would come on though? I don't think he would come on.
He's a big wig.
He's doing a rum and coke night.
Are you talking about coming on Mikey or?
Oh my God!
I hate you.
I'm telling you, I'm going for the gay vote. I want people to start thinking that I'm gay. Please. I want that crowd. I'll bring them in.
Just because you don't have sex with women doesn't make you gay.
God damn it!
That was good, Mikey. That was really good. That was one of the night.
Steve, I love you.
Listen,
wait a minute.
Can I get in a rum and coke? Can I get in a?
Wait a minute.
Can I get in a rum and coke?
Mikey, wait a minute.
Can I still get in?
Steve has sex all the time with women. Rosie Palmer, her 5 sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of porn stars I've slept with many times. Right?
Come on, Steve. Can I get that invite to rum and coke though? Come on, man.
Listen. If you guys want him to come to your after party, all you need to do is tell him that he's going to get to define the terms and just whatever words he gets to define them. And
I love when people think gay is a derogatory term. I was like, I don't understand that. I wouldn't give a shit if people think I'm gay. It's not even on my radar. You know.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's not the case, though, Steve. At most, you're heteroflexible.
Heteroflexible.
Have you seen his hips? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Two in a row.
I got
I'm sorry.
I got plans
sorry.
next month, motherfucker. So we're gonna make you eat those words.
I didn't see you jump all over Nick for hanging out with a certain person, but it's all good.
Are you saying, Mikey?
Why
Are you
would I?
saying, Mikey? Are you saying that Steve's hips don't lie?
They don't lie. They ain't never lied.
I was a little envious, but I wasn't a hater.
I was told I would be murdered for doing something of that nature, but
Well,
it's all
yeah,
good.
because I don't trust you, motherfucker.
Oh, and here we go.
Yep, you
Nick
just
is
walked in and I went-
trustworthy. Nick is trustworthy, but I'm not trustworthy.
Oh.
Have you seen Nick? She's not gonna sleep with him. Come on.
I knew that's where I was gonna go.
I had a whole list of arguments. That's it right there.
She's a free agent, man. She's a free agent. They're all free agents. I got no tips on anything.
The blacks can do certain things, but certain things they better not. That's why I just heard.
You stay away from our women.
Hey, Steve. Sock account says it's not gay if you're underway.
That's true. That's when you hear that bell, you're good to go.
It's not gay if it's in a three-way, for sure.
Yeah, no, but underway.
Underway.
That was inside
Oh.
for Steve. That was an inside joke, I guess, for Steve.
Maybe.
I know what it means. Yeah.
Took me a minute.
Yeah. So.
Let's see. I gotta get ready here, guys. I'm gonna drop.
All right. So, hey, Steve, thanks again for stopping by. And everybody go over and check out Steve's Rum and Coke night.
Yeah, this was fun. I'm going to stop by more often. I like these panels. You guys have. I've been watching them, so don't think that I haven't. And you've had some amazing discussions, and probably some of which I should have jumped in on. They were that good.
All right.
Oh my God, Paul, you gotta mute, bro.
Puffalupagus.
I was actually trying to get in there because, but there was too much back and forth.
I'll see you over there. The link be in the video description here in a little while. But join me.
No, not Rum and Coke night.
All right, well, I'm going over there to drink my scotch, actually.
He wants to get in on the three-way, I think.
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait a minute. We lost Steve. All right. So, hey, guys, let's check it out. Once again, another potluck profundity where we never did get to everybody's topics.
Sorry.
Hey, and my apologies to those of you who put thought into that and had stuff to talk about. But since Steve is going to start up his Rum and Coke night, we're going to start wrapping things up here. And we're going to go down the line and let everybody give their final thoughts on this topic. And, take as much time as you want. We don't necessarily have to head right out, but we'll start with Dave McInnis. What are your final thoughts on this topic, and where can people find you?
My final thoughts are, John, if you want to do a potluck profundity and tell people to come with topics, maybe you shouldn't bring your own at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Maybe that would help. Maybe this is
yeah.
fault.
Well, right, and the first time it was because the feature channel of the week was Messenger Reveals, and by the time I got done with the interview, the rest of the panel descended upon Messenger like a flock of ravenous birds.
Dave,
we never got to.
Dave McInnis.
So, Dave, where can people find you?
On the internet. I'm all over. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me over the Slippery Slope Show. That's slowly being chipped away at. And we'll launch at some point sometime.
All right. And I can't wait for that. Puffalupagus, what are your final thoughts? Puffalupagus.
His final thoughts are, where's the mute button?
Fucking people, man. I apologize. But I'm just going to take my time. I don't think this discussion really anywhere, and I think that everybody's basically in the same positions they were. We all understand racism is bad, but I think that we all stand at different crossroads of where the permeation of racism in America is, what the level is. I think that's a different topic for a different day. We didn't really reach any kind of conclusion on that today. I don't think really. But I'm just going to put out my thing. Maybe people can think about it. I don't know if people heard, but 2 days ago or 3 days ago, Commissioner had a meeting to meet with the co-workers of America, and when they took to 10 hours to go meet, he showed up to me and walked in, said, "Don't worry, you guys are going to be all right." They tried to propose questions to him like, "Hey, because you guys took out the provision that we have that insurance companies have to provide insurance to people that no matter what, we now cannot obtain health insurance for a price. What can you do for us?" He walked out of the meeting. So my question to the panel is, and to the people that are listening, do you guys think that this is the first wave of the GOP making fatal mistakes that they're basically saying they're doing, and then they're going to make it the 2020 election cycle?
All right, I understood enough of that to rephrase it for you, because I don't know if everyone heard you there.
Boy.
Yeah, I heard every word he said. So
okay, good.
I heard all of it. I didn't understand a word of it. So if you could rephrase it, that'd be
yeah.
Last butthole.
But
I didn't understand a word of it. So Mitch McConnell this weekend. I mean, you're going to go there. So,
yeah, you're robot stuff there.
I'm going to interrupt you. I can't understand. I can't understand it.
And well, here's the thing, and the progressive liberal, go ahead and restate it as you understand it, so that everybody knows. And I think what it is that he was putting that question out there for people to think about,
right?
And then we can have a similar discussion in the future. But go ahead.
He was just asking if the GOP is about to make a fatal mistake on healthcare and removing healthcare from a bunch of people that are in their base that currently depend on the Obamacare, the ACA.
Yeah.
Okay. Good question.
And as long as you go ahead, Progressive, what are your final thoughts, and where can people find you?
Well, my final thoughts on that are yes, they will make that mistake. You bring up a great point, Puff, and yes, they are going to shoot themselves in the foot there with food stamps, and it looks like Social Security and Medicaid as well. Anyway,
I was more asking: are the coal workers literally the canary in the mine shaft?
Yeah, they are. Coal workers, manufacturing, anybody like any of those blue collar, lower and middle class workers. Yeah, they are. So first of all, just thank you for having me on. This was phenomenal, and I love all you guys. Even if some of you are a little racist, it's okay. But yeah, I think Mikey and I see racism a little bit differently, because I don't think that power is required. I think that racism is just seeing other people as inferior because of their ethnicity. That's how I think of racism. My mind is open to being changed on that. That's just, my definition of it, I suppose.
We'll have a video up in the next week.
Yeah, we can
straighten his little ass out.
We will definitely bump uglies on that. But yeah, so Mikey and I do a show. It's called The After Show. It happens 3 nights a week, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays on my channel, Progressive Liberal. So go on over there. It's youtube.com/Progressive Liberal. It's pretty easy to find. I do lots of videos on politics, on activism.
Star Trek.
I do Star Trek stuff. So definitely check me out, subscribe, and find me on Twitter, ProLib Show, and patreon.com/AsAProgressiveLiberal. I do a blog every day. It's free. You don't have to be a Patreon to read it. You get it a little early, but you can still read it if you're not a Patreon. So that's it.
All right, and Mikey Famine, what are your final thoughts, and where can people find you?
I have never met a bigger group of racists in my entire life.
Yep.
Wait.
Honestly,
Mikey, could you point them out? Which ones are you? Huh?
I would point at the camera, but then Nick might think I'm talking about somebody else.
Oh, shoot.
All right, Reid. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
Oh shit! That's all I got. I got one.
That's all you get.
Damn.
They're playing the music.
I'm just saying, I got 3/5 of the time that Progressive Liberal got. But
Oh man.
I am on fire tonight, baby.
This is your night. This is so your night.
I'm on the fish, as they say. I think these conversations are important because as a black man, I ignore shitty, stupid people who say racist comments to me. I don't see them as racist. The larger racism conversation that I was trying to have kind of got lost in the minutia, and me and John started talking past each other. Me and Steve started talking past each other. It's okay. I'm not going anywhere. We can have better, more poignant, more focused conversations on specific things. And I don't feel like we're going to have all of these differences. I'm at Twitter at We the Deviants. I co-host a show with some fucking
Some white dude.
Yeah.
some libtard cook. Name. No, he's
and
an excellent gentleman.
Yeah, and I want to point out too, it's deviants, CE, not deviants like multiple deviants, but
Right.
Apparently, that one is already taken by a punk rock band, and they have like a bullfrog or like a reptile of some sort as their logo. I followed them because maybe they have good music. I don't know. But I do music, I do debate, I do talk, I do jokes about Nick Soutter. I do everything that anyone could ever want from the internet. At We the Deviants, at all times.
all right, Reid, what are your final thoughts, and where can people find you if you want to let us know?
Well, I'm just usually on Twitter. I consume content for the most part. I don't create any. I love all you guys, and been following you for a while. Nick, you need to get your shit on fucking audiobook, because I want to listen to your book a million times by now.
I'll read it for you.
How about say, can I do it?
Yeah.
I should do an audio. People keep saying, and
I know we've talked about this a while ago, and still nothing. But
sorry.
no, it's all right, man. I work a lot. I basically consume content. John was nice enough to invite me in this hangout, which was really cool because I've loved Steve and Nick and Mikey and Progressive and all you guys.
We love you too.
So I was just trying not to step on your dicks while I was in here and let you guys know. Maybe next time I'll be a little more vocal. But
call me Grey Worm.
Well, we'll definitely have you back, Reid. Yeah, we didn't give you too much of an opportunity to speak tonight.
No, I was fine. You guys are awesome. I loved it. I enjoyed every minute of it, and I just thank you, John, for the opportunity. It was great. I'll fix these damn tech issues for the next time, and hopefully have some video for the next stream.
All right, man. And Nick Soutter.
All right. Well, first of all, yeah, and he already bailed, but I did want to mention to Puff, and I think most people got this, but I wasn't actually trying to rip on him. I couldn't understand, and especially I think with these headphones, I mean, everybody was having issues hearing him, I think, but for me, I couldn't make a word out. The tinniness in these headphones, in fact, it hurt. So I'm glad that got sorted out. But I loved this discussion. Actually, I've been interested in this exact topic for a very long time. My high school, I went to Wellesley High School, which at the time Wellesley ranked, I think, one of the top 10 richest cities in the country, or towns in the country. And it was really, and what they were doing was they were busing in inner city black kids as an affirmative action program to try to give them, a better education. And it was interesting to watch. I had a friend of mine an acquaintance who sat down crying once, and she was just in tears, and the inner city kids were getting loaded onto the bus, and everyone was kind of wondering what her problem is, and a couple of people came down and said, what's the problem? And oh my God, her dad got her the wrong color BMW for her birthday. I shit you not, that was the problem. And so I've been very fascinated, because I had a good friend there, and I remember the first time he told me that he had seen serious gang violence. I mean, he had seen people get shot and killed, and he had seen cops like actually planting evidence and telling people, oh, you want to know who killed your buddies? Those guys over there, have a good time. And it was just it was an extraordinary experience going through in high school. So I've been fascinated in this exact discussion for a very long time. So I'm thrilled to have had it, even if I'm not sure that nobody's position changed. I hope everyone got a little educated. I feel like I got significantly educated. Mikey's what he had to say on it was a very different perspective that I found it really interesting. And Mikey, at some point, I'd love to chat with you more about it, but especially what he was saying too about the, if the guy's got the banner and he uses the N-word and all this other stuff, I'm not going to necessarily say he's racist. I was just like that. I mean, that's a really interesting perspective, and I think I can see why when you framed it the way you did. So I think it was a worthwhile discussion. I'm glad we spent the whole time on it. It's easier for me to say since I didn't bring anything myself to discuss anyway. But you can find me on Nicholas Lamar Soutter. I've got a website, just Nicholas Lamar Soutter. I've got some books, as people mentioned. No, they're not on audiobook, and considering I'm dyslexic, you'd think I'd have made that a first priority, but no. I've got a YouTube channel, which this will probably end up on it, but it's Nicholas Lamar Soutter, the YouTube channel, and I'm also the owner and operator of the Humanist Codex, which is a website for education on theism, anti-theism, atheism, and it's also a social networking site. So come on down. You can talk to me on Twitter. I'm Nick Soutter on Twitter, and I would love to chat with anybody, anywhere, anytime.
All right, thanks, Nick. And I'm John Petersen. You can find me here most Saturdays on a GDC. Next weekend, I won't be doing anything, though, because that's the holiday weekend. And I did start a new channel a week or so ago, The Amateur Conversationalist. And tomorrow will be episode 2 at 1 p.m. Eastern. And I'm having on Jim Majors. And I hope that's still going on. We didn't hear from Jim tonight. He was supposed to be here tonight. And I always try and close out with a quote. And you might have thought that that this is something I said, given the discussion you heard earlier, but no, this was not me. Hating people because of their color is wrong, and it doesn't matter what color does the hating. It's just wrong. Muhammad Ali.